Alright, so this is our presentation on family structure and juvenile delinquency with Elijah Asamad, James Campbell, and Donovan Tice. Contents. Slide 3 will be what is family structure. Slide 4 will be the functions of the family. Slides 5 through 9 will be the different types of family structures. Slide 10 will be substance abuse during pregnancy and developmental effects. Slide 11 will be negative family environment and developmental effects. Slides 12 and 13 will be poor family structure and developmental effects. Slide 14 will be a transition slide to some real-life examples of the effects of poor family structure and home environment. Slides 15 through 16 will be the real-life examples. And finally, slide 17 will be our sources. What is family structure? Family structure is essentially the dynamics of your family, such as how individuals within it are raised, the type of family it is, and the interactions that take place between its members. Functions of the family. The family serves many functions, such as procreation, physical development and health, cognitive and intellectual development, psychological development and emotional care, socialization, the formation of sexual attitudes and the regulation of sexual behavior, providing recreational opportunities, providing economic resources, spiritual and religious formation, and teaching general life skills. Different types of family structure. The nuclear family. The traditional family structure, a nuclear family consists of a married heterosexual couple and their biological and/or adopted children living within the same household.
Many other types of family structures that many people have in their lives. Today we'll be looking at 4 of those. One of the 4 includes the single-parent family. A single-parent family structure is either a male or female-headed household in which the children only live with one of their parents. About 28% of families within the U.S. are considered single-parent families. Another type of different family structure is the cohabiting parents. The cohabiting parents family structure is a structure in which 2 adults live together without being formally married. This structure can include children they've had or adopted together, or children from previous relationships. Another type of family structure is the blended family. A blended family structure is normally made up of 2 adults who bring their children from a former marriage or relationship into their new marriage. The final family structure we'll be looking at today is gay and lesbian families. Gay and lesbian couples are also a type of family structure. These couples may have children from previous heterosexual relationships, adopt children, or bear children by a surrogate parent.
Substance abuse during pregnancy and developmental effects. The use of drugs during pregnancy can cause several developmental effects. Listed below are a few. Alcohol usage causes fetal alcohol syndrome, or FAS. This compromises physical growth and development, as well as possible psychological impairments. Tobacco usage can cause things such as low birth weight and/or infant mortality. Drugs, like methamphetamine, have been thought to cause cardiac abnormalities, abnormal fetal growth, and cranial abnormalities. Of course, there are more, but what's listed for are usually the top results. Negative family environment and developmental effects. Child neglect and child abuse can have detrimental effects on a child's development. Neglect, whether it be abandonment, emotional neglect, or an unsafe home environment, these can all cause mental and physical health problems in a child. Emotional neglect can damage a child's emotional and psychological development. Physical abuse, whether it be by a mother or father, or both, can cause an assortment of problems. It can negatively influence a child's behavior, showing them from a young age that violence and aggression is the best way to get what they want, or the only way. A mindset like that could easily lead an adolescent to become involved in delinquency. Poor family structure and developmental effects. When referring to family structure in this case, what is being referred to are broken homes. In a study conducted by Price and Kunz in 2003, it was concluded that children from divorced households have higher rates of delinquency compared to those who don't. This could be that one of the single parents, is having trouble taking care of their children or child or children, and therefore sometimes they might not be able to afford to give each child this a fair amount of attention, and this can push a child to act out, and it could lead them to deviant behavior. Poor family structure and developmental effects continued. Father figures play a critical role in a child's development, for males and females alike. Growing up without a father present can cause more aggressive and angry children, creating a heightened risk for developing deviant behavior, according to Spencer in 2013. According to Judith in 2018, growing up without a mother present can cause problems with developing social relationships, emotional imbalances, and negative feelings that can develop into aggression, deviant behaviors, similar to a father's absence. Both have their causes, but they can both lead to different ways without having the absence of a father and without a mother.
Now we will be looking at some real-life examples of the effects that can be caused by poor family structure and home environment. The effects of poor family structure. The murder of Thomas Zona Trent. In Jacksonville, Florida, back in March of 2017, a young man who was 15 at the time named Tommy Townsend was sentenced to 30 years in prison for a murder he committed at the age of 12. Tommy murdered the man, who was homeless, by shooting him in the head. The 15-year-old was found guilty and charged with second-degree murder of the 54-year-old man named Thomas Zona Trent in June of 2014. As part of a negotiated plea, Tommy's sentence had to be at least 10 years but could not exceed that of 40 years. At a sentencing hearing taking place in February of that year, Tommy's defense focused on factors within his early life that predicated this crime. According to his defense, a mixture of factors within his early life, brain abnormalities, untreated mental health and educational needs, and the abuse and violence within his family were all stacked against him, negatively impacting his cognitive and behavioral development. Tommy has had problems maintaining grades and having bad interactions with teachers and authoritative figures as well. Growing up, Tommy experienced in his family. He went through periods of homelessness, and when they did find a home, it was in a very bad neighborhood where crimes such as robbery and murder were commonplace. Aside from violence surrounding the home, there was also violence within the home. Tommy's mother struggled with drugs and has even been on her drugs during her pregnancy with Tommy. She is also very abusive when it came to her disciplinary actions. Aside from the obvious things affecting his development growing up, the mother's drug use was undoubtedly a damaging factor in Tommy's cognitive development. While the judge did seem empathetic toward Tommy, he also understood how the death had impacted the family of the victim and came to a final verdict of 30 years behind bars. This can relate to the effects of poor family structure in many ways. Tommy grew up experiencing a lot of abuse from his mother and a lot of conflict and violence within his family and in his surrounding neighborhood. His mother also abused drugs during her pregnancy, which can have very adverse effects, as discussed earlier in this presentation. According to our textbook, a high degree of family conflict may lead to children having problems with school officials, community leaders, and the police. In aggressive, violent environments, children learn to try and achieve their goals through power and abusive behavior. Fuller and Emuterus, 2016, page 276.
So another example of the effects of poor family structure is the murder of Tessa Majors. On December 2019, Tessa Majors was robbed and murdered in Central Park by 3 teenage boys. Each pleaded not guilty despite the plethora of evidence against them. They are all currently being tried as an adult for the first-degree murder. One of the boys, Rashawn, comes from a broken family. His father has been in and out of jail for the last few years. He currently lives with his grandfather, who believes he is a good boy who has never done who would never do such a thing. Regardless of what the neighbors think of him, neighbors state that him and his family are troublemakers. Investigators also believe that Weaver's family was sheltering him until his bite wound from Tessa Mages healed. So looking at this example, it is easy to see that his family is trying to shelter him from the negatives in life, and he comes from a broken family, and this all clearly has an effect on him and his mental state.
Alright, that will conclude our presentation. I hope you learned something new or found this interesting. Here are our sources.